you like to be somebody who knows what the downsides of the pickup culture are, then listen to this entire video where I explain how practicing the habit of picking up reduces your ability to sense another person's, or let's say in this case, a girl's emotions, and which is sort of like a step towards psychopathy, and also how practicing picking up is a distraction from facing, let's say, the internal process needed to become fundamentally more attractive to women. It's sort of an escapist behavior. So before we get into this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, Jungian psychology, and how to reduce suffering in life. Let's get into it. So the pickup culture, I would say, is just the culture of trying to seduce women, trying to get their number, and you can have very different goals. Men have very different goals. You can just try to get somebody's number, that's your goal, or you want to sleep with them, or you want to get in a relationship. It's one of those, but it's sort of the active pursuit of going out and picking and trying to get sort of engage with women for the sake of like sexual pleasure or trying to boost your confidence. That's what it is. Now, I've had some experience, not a lot, but with the pickup community, I would say, well, I mean, very little actually, but that was, I would say, enough so far. So I went I joined a group of guys to go picking up girls about a week and a half ago, and a friend of mine, or a guy I had recently met, told me he was going to go and do it and asked me if I wanted to join, and it made me anxious, and because of that I knew I had to do it because it would pull me out of my comfort zone and make me grow. So I was anxious, but I committed to it. Now, before I actually went out to talk to girls and ask for their number, I thought to myself, this activity of picking up girls could be something I could do regularly to get out of my comfort zone and seek discomfort, because it's really important to me personally to remain on a path of progress which requires new adventures and discomfort. So I thought, like, this could be something cool. So I went out and I talked to 4 girls, 2 girls alone and 2 girls who were together in a group, well, in a pair. And I ended up getting 1 number, but that's really inconsequential at the moment. I was expecting to feel quite proud of myself and excited about my progress and the adrenal pumping experience. However, afterwards, I felt quite different. I could not quite pinpoint what blocked the positive emotions I was anticipating beforehand. It took me a few days, and I reflected on how I really felt about the experience and the general act of picking up in general, and these are my conclusions about the culture. I did not feel good afterwards. I felt some resistance within myself. So, the obvious first downside of practicing picking up girls is that it's a numbers game. And what a numbers game requires for you to succeed is to engage in a high number of girls, because the more you engage in, the more chance you have of actually succeeding, let's say, getting a girl's number. Now, when you combine the simple benchmark goal of getting a girl's number together with the strategy of engaging in as many girls as possible, you automatically begin to reduce the girl to an objective and no longer as an emotional being. So you don't actually care if the girl is afraid of you or shows any other clear emotional signals of discomfort. Of course, the state of being emotionally insensitive, like, it only sort of arises or only probably manifests itself after a while of picking up girls. But even just having gone once, 1.5 weeks ago, to go picking up girls, I could already feel how, after having talked to 4 girls, how, you become numb a bit, and you don't really care about whether the girl rejects you anymore or not. You just go and do it, and you're a bit more blunt. And also, my goal for that when I went out was just to talk to girls and get a girl's number. That was it. Like, I honestly couldn't be bothered to go on a date right now. Like, I don't want to have to handle, like, getting to know a girl, or I got out of a relationship a few months ago, and I'm not really interested in starting anything new yet. So for me, it was just get out of your comfort zone, do something cool, do something fun. So I just wanted to get a girl's number. But what I realized is I got this girl's number I didn't text her, and basically I was sort of manipulating her to give me what I wanted, regardless of what her desires are. And that's a very one-sided style of communication where you reduce the other person to a means to your satisfaction, really. And that's not healthy. And you can easily spiral into this opportunistic mindset of, using other people to get what you want, to boost your confidence, to make you feel good, regardless of how they're feeling. And I think that mindset merges into other domains of your life, whether you do it in, picking up girls, then when you go to university and you talk to girls, you're also quite sort of dismissive of their feelings, or in your family, or just with not just girls, but with guys also, you kind of learn to care less or use other people for your own benefit, and that's dangerous. And I think the world does not need that at this moment. Even with, it's just, we could do without it. So I think practicing the act of reducing people to a body and not to emotions, or not acknowledging their emotions, is a psychopathic tendency that I do not condone. Secondly, the downside of picking up girls is the habit of talking to girls for the sake of becoming better at picking them up is a kind of escapist behavior, I think. It distracts a man from developing his inner psyche, his inner turmoil, which is actually making him feel... Let me put it like this. A key reason why a guy might be inclined to join a pickup community is perhaps because he struggles to get girls or interact with girls generally. So he obviously notices that he could improve his confidence and abilities to communicate smoothly with the opposite sex, or there's something that is repelling girls away from him, something like that. Not just like literally physically, but no girl wants to get in a relationship with him, no girl wants to interact with him on a regular basis, something like that. Now, that's actually extremely interesting, because women are in some sense a feedback loop for men. So let me explain. Women are instinctually the gatekeepers of our society. Women choose the partner. It's not the man who chooses the partner. The women are instinctually configured to be, I would say, very conservative with their choice of sexual long-term partners, because raising a kid, you have to carry the baby within you for 9 months, and then raising a kid is an extremely costly, in terms of finances and energy, endeavor, which doing alone is a lot harder and threatens the survival or the well-being of the kid. So it's important to be very careful for a woman with who to choose as a partner. So they are configured to discriminate men and be very careful with who they choose. And therefore they are sort of given the choice in choosing a partner. It's not the man, because a man, he can sleep around and then just leave. Like, he has no emotional, let's say, or less emotional connection, and there's less commitment needed in producing a child. And you always have to think in regards of, humans are species, are animals primed to reproduce, because that is the fundamental evolutionary goal, let's say. And women then determine if your genes as a man, your genome, is worthy enough to be propagated. That sounds really harsh, but it is essentially that. That's also why men are so sort of petrified, or they're terrified of being rejected by women, because what women, indirectly tell the man when they're rejected, it's like, your genes are not fit enough to be propagated. That's what it is. That's really tough, and men absorb that unconsciously, and it hits them. That's why they're so terrified of it. So, and in order to be so when women disapprove of you as a man, it's essentially a symptom of you doing something wrong, very suboptimally. You are, for example, not confident enough, so a woman unconsciously interprets you as someone who struggles to competently maneuver through a wide variety of domains in life, whether it's work, social life, family, sport, you know. And if you cannot confidently place yourself in these situations, these groups, then you cannot negotiate effectively to get access to resources which are necessary for raising healthy offspring. And that's it. So I believe practicing picking up girls distracts men from developing their inner deep value, which would radiate towards women. So some men just think that if they develop their skill of talking to girls, that fixes the problem of the absence of female interest in them. I do think women at first can be attracted by a man who is confident at first sight, like a guy who has practiced his ability to talk to girls. But I think after further interactions, like going on several dates, it won't take long for the women to detect his lack of value and ability to raise healthy offspring. And like, you think, Henry, my name's Henry, by the way, like, why you keep going about offspring? Like, you need to understand it's archetypally coded into your genome to strive for reproduction and producing offspring. It's always manipulating. No, manipulating sounds too sort of devious. It's guiding your attention and your behavior. So it's the fundamental drive, or one of the fundamental drives in your life. So in the short term, practicing picking up girls can be useful, but it's an escapist behavior in some sense, because it won't help you much with securing a long-term relationship. It's escapist behavior because in order to become that man who is confident, like deeply, existentially confident, let's say, who is competent, who speaks the truth, who is humble, who is morally switched on, that requires psychological development, which is a painful process because it entails integrating your unconscious mind into your conscious mind, which includes, for example, your shadow archetype. It's shadow work you need to do, which basically takes acknowledging and accepting the unwanted attributes of your being, of who you are. That's a painful thing, and it requires humility, and it requires subordination of your ego, and that's a painful thing. It's basically, what's subordinating your ego? That basically means fixing insecurities, because your ego it's like a set of armor that protects your insecurities. It's something like that, and you need to transcend that. And that's a painful process, which requires active hard work. So in the next video, I will dive into how the pickup game is actually unnecessary, I think, if you're a developed, competent man. If you comprehend your own value, then you can just approach a girl who you deem as interesting and show genuine interest in her without any guile. So, in conclusion, I think the pickup community, the pickup culture of, actively going out to talk to girls, get their number, sleep with them, get in a relationship for the sake of talking to girls and trying to build your own confidence, that it encourages you to reduce women to your own objective and a means to your goals in life, whether it's building confidence or sexual pleasure. That's a psychopathic tendency which I don't encourage, or I think is morally actually wrong. And the second thing is, it can be a short-term distraction from actually developing your inner, your deep fundamental value and your energy that radiates towards women, and which would be the thing that actually attracts women the most in the long term. Instead, pickup culture sort of is like a quick fix to the problem some men have of not being able to engage in girls and have interactions with girls. So Please leave a comment below whether you think whether you actually disagree with my opinion that the pickup culture is actually, there are downsides to it, or whether you agree with my opinion. And I do have to say, the pickup culture can be useful because it can help you boost your confidence, and just realize that getting rejected by girls is not, won't jumpstart an apocalypse. It's not going to ruin your life in the long term. You just need to overcome that fear, really. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, Jungian psychology, and how to reduce suffering in life. Thank you for listening.